Good morning, class. I hope you all had a productive week analyzing your chosen episodes. Your initial insights into the structure of Friends or Breaking Bad were very promising. Now let's dive into what we'll be covering in Session 2. Today, our focus shifts from simply understanding what a series is to mastering the fundamental building blocks of serial storytelling. First, we will explore the concept of the A story, B story, and C story. You will learn how professional writers meticulously weave these multiple plot lines, the main narrative and the subplots, together within a single 45 or 60-minute episode to create a rich, layered viewing experience. We'll look at how these stories complement each other and often share a thematic connection. Second, we'll introduce the critical element of the scene. A screenplay is built scene by scene, and we'll break down what makes a scene effective. We will discuss scene function. What purpose does this specific scene serve? Does it advance the plot? Reveal character? Set up a future conflict? You will learn how to write scenes that are dynamic and essential, avoiding unnecessary filler. Finally, we will move into your practical application for the week. Your homework will be to outline the A, B, and C stories of a single episode from a series of your choice. This exercise is key to developing your structural muscle. So, by the end of this session, you will be equipped to identify and structure the multi-layered narratives that define successful television writing. Any initial questions before we begin with A, B, and C stories? Step into a world without expectations. Tired of those long, detailed table of contents that spoil all the surprises? This time, we offer you a different experience. A book with no table of contents at all. We've intentionally omitted the table of contents to allow you to enter the story with a completely open mind and no preconceived notions. We want you to unwrap each chapter like a gift, experiencing the thrill of the unknown. This book is a journey where you'll grow alongside the characters, feel their sorrows, and celebrate their triumphs. There's no roadmap to guide you, so prepare for an unexpected adventure. Are you brave enough to take the risk? The day of the press conference. The day of the press conference was a watershed moment in human history. The Grand Hall, adorned with ancient symbols of justice, was packed to the brim with journalists, religious leaders, philosophers, and concerned citizens from all corners of the globe. The air was thick with anticipation and a palpable sense of unease. As the prosecutor stepped onto the podium, a hush fell over the room. With a determined look, they presented a meticulously crafted indictment against the divine. The charges were grave: crimes against humanity, negligence, and a willful disregard for suffering. The prosecutor methodically laid out their case, citing centuries of human history as evidence of divine indifference. The ensuing debate was nothing short of chaotic. Religious leaders vehemently denounced the proceedings as blasphemous, arguing that questioning the divine was an affront to faith and morality. Philosophers engaged in deep discussions about the nature of existence, the problem of evil, and the limits of human understanding. Scientists presented evidence from various fields, from cosmology to biology, to support or refute the claims made against the divine. Politicians weighed in on the potential consequences of such a trial, warning of the risk of societal unrest and international conflict. The press conference sparked a global firestorm. News of the trial spread rapidly through traditional and social media, igniting passionate debates and protests in cities around the world. The Vatican's counterattack and a global divide. The Vatican's response to the prosecutor's announcement was swift and decisive. In a televised address that reached billions worldwide, the Pope condemned the trial as a blasphemous attack on the faith of billions. He declared the prosecutor a servant of Satan and called upon all Catholics to rise up against this affront to God. The Pope's words ignited a global firestorm. Catholics around the world rallied to their faith, organizing massive protests and demonstrations against the trial. Churches were filled to capacity, and the faithful prayed for divine intervention. The Vatican issued a formal edict excommunicating the prosecutor and all those who supported the trial, a move that further inflamed passions. Consequences of the Vatican's response: deepening global divide. The world was further polarized between those who believed in the divine and those who sought a more secular worldview. Religious extremism. The conflict between the Vatican and the secular authorities led to a rise in religious extremism, as both sides became increasingly entrenched in their positions. Political instability. Many nations faced internal strife, as religious and secular factions clashed. In some countries, this led to civil war and the collapse of governments. Economic disruption. The global economy suffered as trade and investment were disrupted by the unrest. Technological advancements. The conflict sparked a new wave of scientific and technological advancements as people sought to find ways to prove or disprove the existence of God. A world divided. The world had become a powder keg, with tensions rising between religious and secular factions. The conflict had spilled over into countless battlegrounds, from the bustling metropolises of Europe to the ancient cities of the Middle East. The once clear lines between nations had blurred, as alliances shifted and new enemies emerged. Technological arms race. As the conflict escalated, nations poured resources into developing advanced weaponry and surveillance technologies. Autonomous drones, AI-powered weapons, and biological agents became commonplace on the battlefield. The race for technological supremacy threatened to unleash forces that could not be controlled. A new world order. Amidst the chaos, a new world order began to emerge. Regional powers, such as China and Russia, stepped into the void left by the decline of traditional superpowers. New alliances were formed, based on shared interests rather than ideology. The search for peace. Despite the widespread violence, there were still those who yearned for peace. A small but growing movement of peace activists and religious leaders sought to bridge the divide between the warring factions. They organized interfaith dialogues, humanitarian aid missions, and grassroots peace initiatives. Official announcement from the Ministry of Justice. Following the recent publication of news and rumors regarding the indictment of name of the highest-ranking entity and the commencement of legal proceedings, the public is hereby informed that this case is now under judicial review and all legal procedures are being carried out in accordance with the current laws of the country. Given the significance of this matter and in order to ensure transparency and prevent any misuse, the Ministry of Justice declares that the esteemed accused, name of the highest-ranking entity, represented by their legal counsel, is fully prepared to appear in court on the day of the hearing to present their defense. All citizens are hereby requested to refrain from making any statements or taking any actions that may disturb the public order until a final decision is rendered by the judiciary. The Ministry of Justice, while emphasizing the principle of innocence until proven guilty, assures the public that justice will be served fully in this case, as in all other cases. Date of issuance of the announcement. Signature of the Minister of Justice or the Ministry of Justice spokesperson. The character of an anonymous defense attorney is an intriguing blend of mystery, legal facts, and technology. This character, due to the nature of their work defending clients in court, is shrouded in a veil of ambiguity. However, when this ambiguity is coupled with the relentless efforts of the media, the public, and even hackers to uncover their identity, it becomes a mystery that doubles the story's appeal. Confidential agreement, the foundation of anonymity. The first key element in this characterization is the confidential agreement between the attorney and the prosecutor regarding their identity. This agreement allows the attorney to perform their duties without worrying about persecution or harassment. The reasons for this confidential agreement can be varied. Protecting the attorney. In some sensitive cases, the attorney's life is at risk. Protecting their identity is the best way to protect them. Protecting the client. In some cases, Revealing the attorney's identity can harm the client. For example, if the client is a protected witness, revealing the attorney's identity can lead to their identification. Preserving the neutrality of the court. In some cases, revealing the attorney's identity can affect the neutrality of the court. For example, if the attorney has a personal relationship with one of the parties to the dispute, this may be considered discrimination. A global search for a shadow. In contrast to this confidential agreement, there is a public thirst to discover the attorney's identity. Social media, with its power to rapidly disseminate information, has become a battlefield for this search. People, using various search and data analysis tools, are trying to find the smallest clue about the identity of this mysterious attorney. But this search is not limited to the public. All of the world's information systems, and the most powerful hackers, are also involved in this game. Using sophisticated hacking and penetration techniques, they are trying to access confidential information and reveal the attorney's identity. The mystery of identity, a fascinating challenge. This contrast between the effort to maintain confidentiality and the relentless search to reveal identity creates a fascinating mystery. Improved translation. The enigmatic figure of the anonymous defense attorney is a captivating blend of legal intrigue, technological prowess, and shrouded mystery. Their role as a courtroom advocate naturally lends itself to a veil of secrecy. However, this obscurity becomes a captivating enigma when juxtaposed against the relentless pursuit of their identity by the will demonstrate that he is not only innocent, but also the most merciful and kind. The defense attorney concludes his speech with passion. In this trial, not only the fate of God, but also the fate of humanity will be decided. Are we willing to accept the truth? Are we ready to seek understanding instead of judgment? The appointed day had arrived, a day on which time seemed to stand still, and the world held its breath. A trial, not in an earthly court, but in the heart of every human being. The streets had become a sea of humanity, a sea whose waves carried hope and fear, faith and doubt. Inside the courtroom, the throng of people was like a raging storm. Every seat, every corner was occupied. Eyes were fixed on the prosecutors' and judges' seats. The judge, with a strike of the gavel, brought a momentary calm to the chaos and solemnly reminded everyone of the significance of this gathering. At that moment, the arrival of the defense attorney was announced. Silence fell, a heavy silence filled with anticipation. But this silence was shattered as soon as the empty seat of the accused was noticed. A murmur arose, questions and doubts were voiced. Why was the accused alone? Why was God, the accused in this grand trial, absent? The defense attorney took his place with dignity. The judge asked in a firm voice, "Will the accused be present at the trial?" This question again stirred up a storm of voices. The judge threatened to remove anyone who disrupted the proceedings. The defense attorney responded with a mysterious smile. The Lord God always has been, is, and will be. At that moment, as if by a miracle, a figure appeared beside the defense attorney, dressed in snow-white robes. His face was hidden in a halo of light, but there was an uncanny resemblance to the famous image of the Shroud of Turin. Fear, astonishment, and bewilderment seized everyone at once. Time seemed to stand still for a moment. The defense attorney, with confidence, asked the judge and prosecutor to begin the trial. Interpretation of the court session. Introduction. This court session holds immense significance, as it marks the first hearing of the charges against God, the being who claims to be eternal and the creator of the universe. In this court, which is founded on the principles of justice, God, like any other defendant, has the right to legal representation. In the introduction, the prosecutor presents a general overview of the accusations, including the creation of evil and wickedness, moral evil, oppression and tyranny, and the sacrifice of God's own Son. The prosecutor will delve into these charges in detail, using the Hebrew and Christian scriptures as evidence in the following sessions. Key points. Role of the prosecutor. The prosecutor plays a crucial role in this trial. Their responsibility lies in clearly and logically presenting the charges, providing evidence, and demanding answers from God regarding his actions. That is a truly compelling and high-concept piece of writing. As a TV screenwriting instructor, I'd say this text is bursting with potential for a globally reaching, high-stakes dramatic series. Here is a comprehensive, detailed analysis of this material for your students. Analyzing the Trial of God. A high-concept series pitch. Class, what we have here is a high-concept narrative with world-ending stakes, profound philosophical questions, and built-in global conflict. The core idea, putting the divine on trial, is the kind of what-if scenario that fuels international television. This analysis will break down its structure, character elements, thematic depth, and potential for serialization. A structural and pacing analysis. This text functions as a masterful pilot episode setup and series Bible foundation. The 3-act structure of the pilot. The document provides the beats for a riveting opening episode. Act Y. The inciting incident. The day of the press conference. Setup. The grand hall, global audience, palpable tension. This establishes the scope. Inciting incident. The prosecutor delivers the indictment. The core conflict is now active. Rising action. The immediate, chaotic reactions from the 4 key factions, religious leaders, philosophers, scientists, politicians. This is great for an A to B to C story structure in a pilot. Act 2. Escalation and world building. The Vatican's counterattack and a world divided. Turning point. The Pope's televised condemnation. This takes the conflict from a legal drama to a global civil war. The stakes are raised exponentially. Midpoint, and world break, the consequences list. This is the writer showing us the new world order, political instability, economic disruption, and a technological arms race born from a crisis of faith. This moves the series out of the courtroom and into a dystopian political thriller space. B-story. Introduction. The anonymous defense attorney character brief. This introduces the mystery, element that will sustain the series, outside of the main court proceedings. Act 3. Climax and the hook. The world awaits in the appointed day. Climax setup. The defense attorney's passionate, highly theological pretrial press conference. This lays out the philosophical defense. God is present, but misunderstood and rejected by humanity. Climax. The courtroom scene and the initial absence of the accused. High tension, followed by the supernatural reveal. The hook. The appearance of the figure dressed in snow-white robes resembling the shroud of Turin. This is the ultimate. Cliffhanger. The divine has appeared, and the trial can now begin. This guarantees viewer return for episode 2. 2. Character development and roles. When the prosecutor, the protagonist, antagonist. Role. The relentless force of human accountability. Notes. The text describes them with a determined look, presenting a meticulously crafted indictment. They represent the secular, rationalist, and aggrieved perspective of humanity. The series needs to give this character a clear, personal why, a tragedy or historical injustice that fuels their action. 2. The defense attorney, the enigma. Role. The keeper of secrets, the technological operative, and the voice of radical faith. Notes. This is the most brilliant structural element. The mystery. The anonymity is a powerful character trait. It creates a B-plot of media hacker investigation that can run for seasons. It grounds the high-concept show in a contemporary techno-thriller genre. The voice. They are articulate, calm, firm, and passionate. They reframe the indictment as a test for humanity, not for God. This makes them highly compelling and unpredictable. Fran the judge, the arbiter. Role. The anchor of earthly law and order. Notes. The judge must embody impartiality and control over the chaos. Their demeanor, strike of the gavel, firm voice, is key. They represent the last bastion of human authority before the supernatural takes over. The Vatican, the Pope, the antagonist to the state. Role, the embodiment of organized, reactionary faith and the primary source of the global conflict. Notes. Their actions are swift and decisive, escalating the conflict instantly through a televised address and excommunication. This character creates the external political threat to the proceedings. 3. Thematic depth and conflict. The text successfully interweaves 4 massive, sustaining themes. 1. The problem of evil, the core conflict. Question. If God is omnipotent and benevolent, why does suffering exist? Application. The prosecutor's charge is crimes against humanity, negligence, and a willful disregard for suffering. This is the legal and philosophical engine of the show. Faith versus reason, the societal split. Conflict. The world is polarized between those seeking a divine truth, religious factions, and those seeking a secular, verifiable truth, scientist-prosecutor. Application. This fuels the deepening global divide and the resulting civil wars, giving the series a high-stakes backdrop. B. Identity and anonymity, the mystery. Conflict. The public hacker hunt for the defense. Attorney's identity versus the state's need to protect it. Application. This ensures the series has a procedural element and a human-scale mystery, preventing it from becoming too abstract or philosophical. 4. Technological destiny versus human spirit. Conflict. The technological arms race is directly caused by a spiritual crisis. Humanity is using advanced tech, AI weapons, surveillance, to manage a crisis of faith. Application. This adds a crucial layer of near-future, sci-fi dystopian elements, making the setting timely and terrifying. V. Screenwriting opportunities. 1. The factions, built-in episodic structure. The 4 reacting groups at the press conference, religious leaders, philosophers, scientists, politicians, are perfect for A, B, C, and D storylines in a series. Example, Episode 2 could follow a scientist attempting to gather biometric data from the appearing divine scientific storyline, while a politician tries to form a new international alliance political storyline. 2. The dialogue. The defense attorney's final speech provides the tone for all future courtroom scenes. High-stakes philosophical debate blended with legal procedure. The series should use its dialogue to explore complex, theological and moral questions, not just move the plot forward. 3. Visuals and scope. The press conference needs to feel like a global spectacle. Think newsroom meets the UN General Assembly. The global divide requires a massive budget to show the economic disruption and civil unrest in multiple cities. The reveal. The moment the figure appears needs to be one of the most transcendent, terrifying, and awe-inspiring moments in television history. The use of the halo of light and the shroud of Turin reference gives the VFX team a powerful, iconic image to work with. Conclusion. This material is an excellent series pitch. It starts with a compelling, universal premise, rapidly escalates the stakes into a global conflict, introduces a fantastic character mystery with the anonymous defense attorney, and ends on a monumental supernatural cliffhanger. The biggest challenge for your students. How do they sustain the show after the divine appears? The trial must be not just a legal fight, but a moral and existential one, with real, irreversible consequences for the human characters on both sides of the aisle. This is a fantastic text to use for analyzing the fundamentals of television. Screenwriting. It's rich with high-stakes drama, global conflict, and built-in structural elements. Session 1. Introduction to Television Screenwriting. Welcome to the craft of television screenwriting. Unlike writing a novel or a stage play, Writing for TV is a unique architectural challenge. You're building a massive, compelling structure one episode at a time. This text, about the trial of the divine, gives us a perfect high-concept framework to explore the basics. The difference: TV series versus feature film. The single most critical distinction lies in longevity and conclusion. Feature film, TV series, conclusion, continuation. A feature film is a finite event. It has a defined beginning, middle, and a definitive end. The goal is to resolve the main conflict within approx 90-120 minutes. A TV series is an infinite event, theoretically. The goal is to sustain the story for multiple seasons. The writer's job is to delay, complicate, and refresh the central conflict, not resolve it. Character arc, character evolution. Characters typically undergo a complete, single arc that resolves by the final scene. Characters must evolve, but often revert or find new flaws. They change in smaller incremental ways over many seasons. A central trait usually remains constant, e.g., Walter White's arrogance, the defense attorney's mystery. Scope, world building. The scope is usually tighter and focused on a single, core story. The scope is expansive, allowing for multiple A, B, and C storylines that run concurrently and intersect over time. Application to the text. The feature film version of this story would end with the verdict and its immediate aftermath. The TV series version, which this text is setting up, has a long life. The trial itself is just the inciting incident for a show that will explore the deepening global divide, religious extremism, political instability, and the technological arms race. The trial's outcome in one episode doesn't end the show. It simply sets the stakes for the next season. The anonymous defense attorney is a classic TV device, a compelling mystery designed to be sustained for seasons. Episodic structure versus linear narrative. A feature film follows a single linear narrative with a distinct 3-act structure. Setup, confrontation, resolution. A TV series uses an episodic structure. Episodic structure. The engine of TV. Episodic structure means the narrative is broken into self-contained or semi-contained units called episodes or installments. A story, the main plot. This is the central narrative focus of that specific episode. In our example, a specific episode might focus on a key witness the prosecution calls, or the defense attorney's challenge to the court's jurisdiction. B story, the subplot, a secondary, often character-driven plotline, usually providing emotional depth or thematic contrast. An episode might have the B story follow a journalist trying to track down the defense attorney's identity using hacking methods. C story, the runner through line. This is the series-long conflict that is touched upon in every episode but never resolved until the series finale. In our text, the trial of the divine and the subsequent global divide are the C stories. Every episode of this series must feel like it's inching toward, or further away from, the final verdict and the potential new world order. Breaks in commercials. The structure of a broadcast TV episode is defined by its acts and commercial breaks. Each act must end with a major turning point or a cliffhanger called an act break to ensure viewers don't change the channel. Act Y. Set up the A and B stories. End on a complication. Act 2. The complication escalates. The protagonists try to solve the problem and fail. End on a major setback. Act 3, 4V, depending on the format. The ultimate push toward the episode's resolution. The end of episode often resolves the A and B stories while leaving a small, tantalizing hint about the C story's future. The job of the television writer. Your job is not just to tell a story. It's to create a machine that tells stories forever. Create complicating characters. You must write characters with inherent, unresolvable flaws. If the anonymous defense attorney is too perfect, the audience loses interest. Their flaw might be an obsessive desire for privacy, a secret connection to a world power, or a cynical nature beneath the spiritual talk. Develop premise generators. Your world must constantly create new conflicts. The text is excellent at this. Conflict. Faith versus law, the trial itself. Conflict 2. Global ideology, religious versus secular factions. Conflict 3. Geopolitics, regional powers, new alliances. Conflict 4. Technology, arms race, surveillance, hacking. A good writer uses these premise generators to fuel dozens of unique episodes. Master the teaser and tag. Teaser. The short segment before the opening credits. It's designed to hook the viewer immediately, with a flash of the episode's highest stakes moment, a shocking revelation, or an intense scene that leads into the A story. Tag, or coda. The short segment after the episode's primary conclusion, just before the final credits. It's often a moment of reflection, a joke, or, most critically in serialized drama, a setup for the next episode or a future season. In our example, the teaser could be a frantic scene of the Vatican reacting to the indictment, and the tag could be a shot of the anonymous defense attorney receiving a coded, untraceable message from an unknown source. Practice exercise script breakdown. We will analyze the final 2 paragraphs of the provided text. From the moment the defense attorney arrives to the final image of God appearing. Your task. Break this scene down into the elements of a screenplay, imagining this is the final scene of the pilot episode. Identify the A-story resolution. What has been resolved for the episode? Perhaps the question of if God will show up has been answered. Identify the C-story cliffhanger. What massive question is left hanging for the season premiere? Rewrite as a tag, a setup for Season 1. Episode 2. Write the scene focusing on high visual drama and minimal dialogue, designed to leave the audience shocked and needing the next episode. What is the final compelling visual we cut to black on? Focus on the silence, the judge's question, the mysterious smile, and the sudden, dramatic appearance of the figure in white. Welcome, class. Today, we're diving into a truly epic and high-concept piece of storytelling. This excerpt, detailing the day of the press conference and the subsequent events leading up to the appointed day, presents a monumental premise, the trial of God. As aspiring television screenwriters, you must learn to dissect a text, not just for its plot, but for its core dramatic elements, its potential for serialization, and the choices the original writers made. This is a story that operates on a global, theological, and intensely personal scale. Lesson 1. Analyzing high-concept premise and world-building. A high-concept story is one whose core idea can be easily summarized and immediately grabs attention. The trial of God is arguably the highest concept premise imaginable. Key takeaways from the text. The inciting incident. The prosecutor's indictment of the divine is the catalyst. It's a clear, public, and irreversible action that shatters the status quo. Immediate global conflict. The story doesn't wait. The indictment immediately creates a deepening global divide between secular and religious factions, leading to religious extremism and political instability. This shows us the massive stakes and the speed at which the world changes. In TV, we call this the new normal of the series. The antagonist's response. The Vatican's counterattack is immediate, powerful, and personal, excommunication, labeling the prosecutor a servant of Satan. This establishes a clear, human vs. human conflict layered on top of the philosophical one. The mystery element. The anonymous defense. Attorney is a brilliant narrative device. Their anonymity creates a secondary, immediately compelling mystery that the media and the audience are obsessed with solving. This is a crucial element for generating episodic tension. The climax setup, the arrival of the accused on the appointed day. Not as an empty seat, but as a figure resembling the Shroud of Turin, is the ultimate cliffhanger. It confirms the premise and sets the stage for the courtroom drama. Assignment: scene breakdown and character development. For this assignment, you will focus on turning the narrative summary into actionable scenes and developing the core characters. Exercise 1, the inciting scene. The prosecutor's indictment, scene outline. The success of the entire series hinges on the prosecutor's scene. It must be compelling enough to spark a global firestorm. Goal: write a detailed beat sheet, 5 to 10 beats, for the opening of the press conference. Focus questions. What is the prosecutor's inner motivation, the why? Is it a crisis of faith, a personal tragedy, a philosophical stance, or a desire for true justice? What is the single most powerful, concise line of dialogue they deliver that captures the gravity of the charge? What are the key visual details of the courtroom that emphasize the weight of the moment, e.g., the ancient symbols of justice, media, public, and even the most sophisticated cyber criminals? The cornerstone of secrecy, a confidential pact. The foundation of this attorney's anonymity lies in a confidential agreement with the prosecution. This pact grants the attorney the freedom to operate without fear of retribution or harassment. The motivations behind this agreement are multifaceted. Personal safety. In high-stakes cases, the attorney's life might be in jeopardy. Secrecy provides a crucial layer of protection. Client protection. Revealing the attorney's identity could jeopardize the safety of their client, especially if the client is under witness protection. Judicial impartiality. The attorney's identity must remain undisclosed to preserve the court's neutrality. Any personal connection to the case could be perceived as bias. A worldwide hunt for a ghost. This veil of secrecy sparks a global fascination with unmasking the attorney's true identity. Social media platforms, with their viral capabilities, fuel the public's insatiable curiosity. Armed with digital tools, individuals scour the digital landscape for any trace of the enigmatic figure. Beyond the public's curiosity lies a more sinister pursuit. The world's most advanced cybercriminals and intelligence agencies are also invested in unraveling this mystery. Employing sophisticated hacking techniques, they aim to penetrate the deepest layers of digital security to reveal the attorney's true identity. The world awaits. The world is watching. Anticipation hangs heavy in the air. Media outlets have sounded the alarm. While experts are drowning in a sea of doubt and faith, God has been summoned to the seat of justice. His defense attorney, with a determined expression, stands before the cameras. Yes, God will come, just as his footprints have been etched in the sands of time throughout history. From the burning bush to Mount Sinai, from the heart of the storm to the body of Jesus Christ. His presence has always been accompanied by indescribable grandeur. He burned in a bush but was not consumed, echoed on a mountain and manifested in a human, a loving father who embraces and cherishes his children. The defense attorney continues in a calm and firm tone. On that night, the night of the wrestling with Jacob, God appeared not as an absolute power but as a compassionate father. He allowed his child to prevail in an unequal struggle and bestowed upon him a precious reward. But are humans seeking such a God? Are they willing to accept him? Alas, history has repeatedly shown us the answer to this question. Jesus Christ was the perfect manifestation of God, yet he was crucified. The anchor, with a questioning look, asked the attorney, "What is the purpose of this trial? Has God committed a crime?" False accusations have been leveled against God, accusations that he will prove baseless by his presence in court. By defending himself, God, the plot, or deepen our understanding of the characters. Your task for the coming week is to take your episode idea and meticulously outline the main plot lines to practice that structural discipline. next week, Session 3. When we meet next time, we'll move beyond structure and ignite the creative spark. We will be focusing entirely on the idea and concept of your series. Here is what we will cover. Serial idea and concept. How to transition from a general thought to a marketable concept. Creating the central idea. High concept versus low concept. We'll analyze the difference and determine which style best suits your story, focusing on clarity and market appeal. The what if as the core story engine. This is the essential question that drives all great TV. We will learn how to formulate it to generate endless conflict. Choosing your genre: drama, comedy, crime, fantasy. Understanding the conventions and audience expectations of your chosen genre. Your key takeaway from the next session will be to distill your entire series concept down to its absolute essence. The homework for Session 3 will be to write a brilliant logline for your own series, the single magnetic sentence that sells your show. I want to thank you all for your excellent participation and insightful questions today. Keep writing, keep analyzing, and never stop looking for the story behind the story. Before you go, if you found this lesson valuable, please do me a huge favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more expert screenwriting content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss Session 3. See you all next week. Happy writing!